Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shrishtam Manumapi Satriputram Atrasarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamurupurim Mathurim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Gripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natasme Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nikhila Shruti Mole Radnamala Dyuti Nirajita Padapankajanta Aji Mukta Kulairupasyamanam Paritashvam Harinam Samshrayami Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalo Shamarpaitum Unnatus Balarasham Subhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dhyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaye Kandare Spurato Vasachinandana Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kavitaro Kamalaya Takshu Vishwambaro Dhyavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataru Ladini Shakti Sarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namastute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Radhe Vrindavanadise Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyanmayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Paradalakshay Kiptasya Kamaditarangamadhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Brinden Maste Charanarvindam Brinden Maste Charanarvindam Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Shri Dauji Gopal Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kalsi Ki Jai Gaur Praman Haribo. So, good evening to all of you. Thanks so much for coming. Welcome. And the same to all of you connected online. So, today is Thursday. So, if my memory is not failing, we have ISTAGOSTHI today, which basically means questions and answers. Questions to begin with, hopefully answers. In between our series of Bhenu Gita on the evenings. So all of you are invited to present. If you have any question, any topic, something you may like to share, to discuss, to speak about. So until then, yeah. Can I ask you, sir, a little bit of water, please? Thank you.
I don't know if this question is appropriate for this Q&A, because I don't know if it's supposed to be related to the Bhenu Gita.
Oh, it doesn't have to be related at all. Okay. No problem.
I was wondering how does one give their heart to Guru?
How does one gives one's heart to the Guru?
Yeah.
I wonder why you're asking that question one day before your initiation, maybe? Maybe something in connection to that. I mean, I hope we can continue doing that question, making that question every single day of our lives. No? So that's an important beginning of the answer. Thank you. Okay. Well, I think we spoke the other day some words, maybe in other terms, but that the principle was there. Giving one's heart to anyone, and of course that includes Sri Guru, is a process. It's not. It's part of a relationship. It has to do with an interaction with another person. So it takes time, basically. Of course, it has to begin at some point, and at least one has to take the decision, the determination. I want to give my heart in this particular direction, because somehow we are giving our heart in always in one direction or another. And basically the thing is, I mean, giving the heart in one sense is I mean, giving the heart may be also a very generic expression, no? Because we invest our time and energy in certain directions, let's say, because here comes what Eric Fromm mentions in his Art of Loving, no? That he mentions most people think, well, I'm giving my heart, but I just cannot find the proper one to receive that. So I keep insisting, and hopefully that happens at some point. And he mentions that it's not about that. I mean, it's about that, but it's not only about that. It's not just finding the right person that I can give my heart to, but also to give the heart, actually. Because you may not be willing to give your heart. So that's I mean, the point is that finding Guru is finding that person that has the capacity to receive your heart, but that also, first of all, if you will inspire you and educate you about what does it mean to give your heart. And then if you agree with the terms and conditions, if you will, he has or she has the capacity to deal with such giving. But first you have to, as a disciple, we have the duty of learning what is expected from us. I mean, if you want to be a disciple, immediately you will try to know what does a discipleship entails. What's the implication of that? Etavagi vatsikyasya niskritam guru. What's niskritam guru? I'm missing one word, sorry. That by vishuddha bhavana sarvartha atmarpanam guru. One word missing, forgive me. So in the Bhagavatam, Krishna himself is saying too that Saksishya, the proper disciple, he has to reciprocate to Sri Guru with Sarva Artha Atmarpanam. It says Sarva Artha, with all his wealth and actually his own soul. And of course, all his wealth doesn't mean that you have to empty your bank account and you are a surrendered disciple, but you have to surrender all that you consider wealth or that you consider valuable, because you may have not a penny, but you have certain things that you deem as valuable. And when I say valuable here, I mean you are attached to and you are taking care of. And maybe part of the discipline of being a disciple is anukulya sankalpa pratikulya savarjanam, as Guru Maharaj mentions. The beginning of surrender is whatever is not favorable for bhakti, it is to be rejected, and whatever is unfavorable is favorable for bhakti, is to be accepted. Doesn't matter if your present list is exactly in the opposite direction. All the things that are favorable for bhakti, I feel them as unfavorable, and all the unfavorable stuff, I have so much attraction to that. But surrender means I make the sankalpa, anukulya sankalpa. Sankalpa means vow, a firm vow, that no matter how difficult this may be, I want to do it. I want to be sincere, as Guru Maharaj says, I want to be sincere about being sincere. He used to pray like this, he shared with us. No? oh Krishna, please let me be sincere about being sincere. Because that can be tricky. You may be very quickly say, I'm sincere. But what about being sincere about being sincere? And then you realize, no, I'm not that sincere there. What about being sincere about being sincere about being sincere? So you have to go layer behind layer. So yeah, to be a disciple begins with surrender. And I know that may sound like a heavy word, and it has been a lots of abuse in the name of surrender. But the fact that the word has been misunderstood or misapplied doesn't mean that we can dispense from surrender from now on. Still, the word is there waiting for us. The proper use of the word is waiting for us, because you cannot just like, in the name of being more healthy and balanced and human, let's not speak about surrender anymore. Let's just, whatever, enjoy life. But the very idea of accepting a guru, in one sense, to begin with, is that I acknowledge my limitations. I acknowledge how narrow are my attempts to reach God. Basically, I want to reach the Achintya plane, the Dokshaya plane, what to speak, the Prakrita plane, but I am just equipped with limited instruments, imperfect senses, limited logic and rationality, and so many layers of samskars that take me to read reality in a filtered way, in a particular filtered way. And generally we cannot just like go beyond that to know what's on the other side. We need the other side to come to us, and that basically means guru. That means revelation. Revelation means the absolute extending to us, no? So whenever we understand that, I'm saying all this because all this is required to finish saying I give my heart, because if not, it's just like one poetic. I'm not criticizing your expression, I mean it's correct, but what's the background of giving one heart? Because if not, it may be just like sentimental words that we can say, give your heart to the guru. What's the implication of how do not just pay lip service to the idea, no? And of course, again, Krishna himself, when he's speaking about that, I mean, we have to go to Shastra. What does it mean to have a guru? In every single verse in Shastra, where what the qualifications of a guru are mentioned, the qualifications of a disciple are mentioned as well, because one entails the other. You can have one without the other. For example, Krishna in the Gita, what does he say? Chapter 4, verse 34. Only that. Shortest verse of the Bhagavad, unique edition Shamananda is having. I think that's interpolated. Sorry? Okay, what else? Another 2 edited version she has. We have to learn verses, it's nice. So you don't have such an anxiety when Maharaj is asking questions in class. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. Because I'm mentioning all the verse, because in one part is the qualities of the disciple, and another part is qualities of the guru. And actually begins with the disciple, interestingly. Pranipat pariprashnan sevan, then jnaninas tattva darshinaha. The guru knows in theory tattva, he's a knower of Shastra, and tattva darshina, he's a seer of truth. So he does not, or she does not only have theoretical understanding and knows how to present the message, but is having a darshan, vision, realization of what he's speaking, she's speaking. But for one as a disciple to surrender to that reality, again, to gives one heart begins with pranipat, Krishna says. Pranipat. Pranipat means basically surrender, as we were mentioning. Surrendering generally is translated as surrender. You can also mention like getting closer, if you will, to take the etymology of pranipat is something like getting closer to. So that's how we get closer to Sri Guru, pranipatina. Actually, that's the very beginning of Krishna's instruction to Arjuna in the Gita. We know that Arjuna, for almost the first chapter of the Gita and the beginning of the second part, is not Krishna's discourse to Arjuna, but Arjuna discourse to Krishna. He's speaking, no? Why he shouldn't fight and this, and he's given the class basically. No? So Krishna is just waiting, no? When he gets tired of giving his class and he's ready for hearing the class, being a student. He's not a student, no? He's given a seminar to his guru basically, no? But no going nowhere. No? So Krishna's waiting. No? First chapter and second chapter began. Arjuna continues why he shouldn't fight. But there's a point where Arjuna himself reaches the point, and Krishna wants that. No? He wants his own student to reach for himself the insight. I'm totally lost. I'm like in, how's in English? Like labyrinth? No, yeah? Oh, okay, similar to Spanish. So I don't know where to go, how to go out, how to get to the center. I mean, the more I try to solve the whole situation, the more complicated it gets, the more perplexed I am. So then finally comes this line in the second chapter when Arjuna says, Sisyasteham sadumam tam tvam prapanam. So finally, which means Sisyasteham, I am your Sisya, Arjuna says to Krishna, I am your disciple. Sisyasteham sadimam, I surrender to you. Tvam prapanam means I surrender to you. Sadimam, please instruct me. So finally, that's the long-awaited moment that Krishna was hoping, no? Because only in that moment the guru figure will appear. Because if not, there is no disciple, there is no guru. So in the very first moment that Arjuna surrenders, again, and surrender is a process, but there is, at least you have to begin by saying that, no? By verbalizing your project. I surrender to you means I want to surrender to you. It doesn't mean I'm already surrendered. Here I am. What's next now? You are beginning the surrendering process. So many stages. As Guru Maharaj was speaking today, Akshishyati Vishwaso Goptritve Varanam. There are other stages of the surrendering process, like trusting in Krishna's protection, accepting Krishna's maintenance, Atmanikshi Prakarpani, understanding that everything belongs to him, and the extreme humility that really comes out of those realizations. So all this is Saranagati, or the path of shelter. So interestingly, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, and almost the very first thing that Krishna says when Arjuna surrenders is he starts chastising him. Oh, you speak so many wise words, but we are lamenting for those things which are not worthy of lamentation. That's the first thing Krishna says to Arjuna, basically. He's not saying, oh, you are so sweet, so nice, now you are surrendered to me, I love you so much. I mean, he's saying all those things, but in a particular form, fitting the situation in the form of chastisement. And again, do not feel traumatized. It's not that the guru is chastising all day long. Are you stupid? You're not. It's not like this, no. I mean, because sometimes in the name of of surrender and accepting the greatest mercy, everything becomes dysfunctional. So we are not saying that. But there should be some willingness to be disciplined, basically. That's the word disciple. Disciple in our language, at least, comes from discipline. You cannot take the word discipline and remain a disciple. Disciple means discipline. And discipline means, first of all, that I acknowledge the need of discipline in my life. And again, discipline, all these terms have been so abused that sometimes you just mention the word and something uncomfortable comes. But one should really try to deal with those things in a healthy way. Not being evasive with them, not running away from them, but also not embracing them in a fanatical way, insensitive way, but just the middle point, just the most difficult thing to do. No, do not be evasive and do not be extremely like create a dictatorship in the name of discipline, because too much discipline, too much order, and you have another Holocaust, basically. If you're not like the Holocaust, what's that? That's an excess of order. Too much order, too much everything in a certain particular way, and dictatorship. So you need some chaos to balance the order, if you will, yin yang. So giving one's heart to the guru, well, implies again, to begin with, one may conclude that, well, first, before giving my heart to my guru, first I have to know what's my heart, who I am. That's the very first question that Sanatana Goswami asked Mahaprabhu when his Sanatana Siksha in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That section is a very important one. And Sanatana Goswami approaches his guru Mahaprabhu and says, who I am. That's the first question. Sanatana Goswami. Like implying, if I don't have that very clear, how can I speak of giving myself to my gurus if I don't have a clue who I am? What I will be giving to my guru in the name of giving my heart, if I do not know my heart, how much willing I am to explore different caves of my heart. Because if I want to give my heart, I want to give a nice offering to Sri Guru in the form of my heart. And maybe the very first stage of giving that beautiful offering first is to deal with the mess of in that section before it can be beautified. Sometimes our Guru Maharaj gives that, I like that example. He says the Guru is like the interior decorator. So interior decorator is someone that you call him. So do not complain. And you are expecting the person will just come and create beauty and aesthetics and suggest positive colors and decorations, and everything will be magic. But it doesn't begin like that. That magic will come eventually, but first he will take a whole thing and will throw it to the window. This is not helping here. This is wrong and will break. No, this has to be thrown away. This crap. This is not adding to the equation. I'm so attached to that sofa. No, my grandparent used that. This is crap, and it's like, oh my gosh. So all those things that you are so much attached to, if you will, to give some parallel, he may take them and one attachment through one window, one attachment through the other window, and you are like crying. I say, stop. He will look at you like, what? I wanted you to make this place beauty. And he said, I'm just engaged in that process. It seems that you don't have a clue how to reach real beauty, basically. It seems that you want the whole thing in a cheap way. It seems that you want to deceive yourself. Basically, the Guru is saying to you, if you don't want to accept that first, you need to get away of certain things that get in the way of real beauty. We can speak about beauty, but we cannot reach that platform. So first, all those things that are not that beautiful, we have to acknowledge that. So the Guru is coming with those good tidings or clarion call of the real beauty. And in the context of contrasting with real beauty, of course, those things that are not that real beautiful, well, we have to know what to do with them. At least, again, this won't happen in one day, in one shot, but at least to have the integrity and the dignity of recognizing I'm in need of a paradigm shift, if you will, in many ways, in many layers, in a sustainable way, again, and try to, whatever I'm saying, to make it balanced. Everything has to be sustainable, but sustainable means also constant progress. Because sometimes in the name of not being too fanatical, we also are not making any we may not be making any progress, and we may get stuck at some point. And this is not only for beginners. It can happen at any moment, especially it can happen after 20 years of practice or something, when you start to feel, okay, I'm a senior devotee. I know all those verses Maharaj is quoting in the class. I know what Guru Maharaj will say now in the class. I've been chanting my 16 round for decades. I mean, maybe you are not saying that outside. There's some subtle voice there, like hiding in behind the bushes, like trying to share that discourse. No, you know what's this about. You know the whole thing. You know Krishna consciousness, and that's one of the most dangerous poisons that you can allow to yourself to hear. Because it's over and over again, Guru Maharaj. I mean, once I asked why Guru Maharaj tells this story over and over again so many times. No? How you understood the Bhagavatam? Yes, go and study the Bhagavatam again. And maybe the person in the story may feel, oh, why he's sending me to study Bhagavatam so many times, but maybe the one who's hearing the story is thinking, why Guru Maharaj is telling the same story so many times? Hear the story again, Guru Maharaj will tell you. Because you need to hear it again. And whenever you don't hear it again, is when you are relishing that the most, and you will be hearing again without a problem. So the point is, we should never be too sure that we already got the thing, are there, and so on. So giving our hearts to the Guru, again, begins by something that it seems it's something different. Again, like the interior decorator example, he's making a mess and I'm suffering. My sofa went flying through the window, and I wanted beauty, and I'm in a tragic stage here. If you do not understand the point, because if you understand how an interior decorator works and how the whole thing will finish, you're okay. You trust the criteria of the person, even though it may pinch, like that sofa on the window. But you understand this is for good. This is for good. I have to have patience, and the whole horizon will become more and more beautiful. So similarly, eventually the official decoration will come. Guru Maharaj will compare that with Bhava Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti is the stage where ecstatic emotions start to appear in our life and start to decorate our life. We get decorated by emotions. Nowadays, our emotions are not decorating us that much. So that's why sometimes we need to over-decorate us with other things, because we don't have emotions that may be too much of an ornament and shringar. So sadhana bhakti, especially the first stages, and as Guru Maharaj will say, have more to do with surrender and with humility. Bhava bhakti is lala samai, deep hunkering, deep longing, but you cannot imitate deep longing if you still have deep longing for any other thing which is not so deep, superficial longing. So Saranagati and sadhana bhakti goes hand by hand. And samprartanai, those are the type of prayers you will have. Dainya bodhika, prayers of humility, prayers of surrender. And understanding that giving the heart is not a joke. It's something that, how to say, like we shouldn't be too sure that we already know what does it mean to give one's heart. If you really want to give your heart, you will be open to keep learning what does it mean to give your heart. Because again, if you very still we can fall into this trap. Already I know what does it mean to give my heart. Already I gave my heart, or maybe I didn't give my heart, but already I know what does it mean. I'm not doing that, but I know. Something like that. But probably if you are not doing that, you don't know also what does it mean. And it's a gradual process, and not to feel bad with ourselves, just to remain in a healthy way open for further learning, not to close that door. I already know what that's about. Change the topic. No. If you are really wanted to give your heart, we will be really willing to learn and to discover all those new ways that we can keep giving ourselves in so many new and further layers. There are so many layers that we have to give ourselves to give, I don't know, to give up, if you will, certain ways of looking at the world, certain ways of identifying ourselves. Because, for example, I don't know, again, I'm speaking in a generic way. In every single case, this will take a very specific form according to one situation. But every one of us has what we call a personality. And generally, we are pretty much identified with that. We think we are that. And generally speaking, that's what we call our acquired nature. So technically speaking, that's not eternal. Generally speaking, it's not that, I don't know, if in your previous life you were born as a buffalo in South Africa, I'm sure you didn't have the same personality you're having now, because the whole environment and the way you were brought, you became a product of that environment, and you self-identify in a particular way, and now you are identified in a particular way. I have this, whatever, so many designations, upadhis. And again, I'm not saying in a brutal way, transcend that, we are not this body, and so on. But also at the same time, I'm saying, be careful not to over-identify with that, because that won't last forever necessarily. Many of those aspects are just aspects of your mental world that need to be transcended at one point. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Because we won't reach our ultimate goal. Guru Maharaj was mentioning that today when he was speaking about the nature of one's goal, the nature of one's practice. I mean, you have to practice in such a way that it has to be in line with what the goal is about. And whenever you are doing that nicely, you are there. It's not that I'm here as a sadhaka practicing and still I have so many things that I haven't not worked with, but somehow magically Krishna will take me to Goloka at the end of my life. No, it doesn't work like that. At least we shouldn't have that type of confidence. That's not the form of confidence. That's more like, so I mean, when we will reach the spiritual world, it's not something that I'm here in a certain platform which has little to do with the spiritual world, but somehow I leave the body and I'm in the spiritual world. No, in this life, or in whatever life, when you reach the spiritual world here, you will reach the spiritual world, basically. It's a movement in consciousness, and it's of course a development of a whole sense of identity. And this is not, again, and that's what our acharyas say, it may take 2-3 lifetimes, like also implying there's some work to do. And 2-3 lifetimes, when someone like Sridhar Maharaj say 2-3 lifetimes, try to understand that he's saying that thinking that you will practice your sadhana as he will practice his sadhana. And you follow, it's not that he's thinking 2-3 lifetimes in a conformist, mediocre way, you will read. I mean, he has no mind to think about sadhana in that way. For him, sadhana is something very specific, very serious, very deep. And that sadhana may take 2-3 lifetimes. The idea is for someone who is not Srila Sridhar Maharaj may take a little bit more, which is not a problem, again. If we understand the greatness of the ideal and the task at hand and the work we may have to do yet, it's not to get discouraged, it's not to get neurotic. Again, as Guru Maharaj will say, when I get there, when I'm getting there, the process is in itself beautiful. But we have to be aware to, at least to acknowledge that there are some issues that they have to be gradually transcended. And in the Shastra, different stages in Bhakti have been depicted. And in those depictions, you see how gradually every aspect of our being gets further and further spiritualized. But to get spiritualized also means that we increase our identification with a particular list of necessities in the context of service, in the context of Krishna in the center, Guru in the center. That's how you develop a spiritual identity. Because what's a spiritual identity? What's a material identity? Material identity is an identity that develops according to perceived needs on the basis of what I think is necessary. I identify with that, and you have an identity. Whatever identity we have now, that's the result of what we perceive as necessary. We have identified with it, and that becomes our outlook, our life, our everything. But spiritual life is exactly the same thing, but your spiritual identity, means you are totally identified, spiritual identity, spiritual body, let's say, totally identified with certain needs of service, because as we spoke, there are necessities in the spiritual world, in our spiritual world. So the more you identify with them, the more an identity comes. An identity comes out of identification. You have to connect these two words, identity and identification. Certain identification takes to certain identity, sense of identity. So now we are sadhakas. So sadhakas means in between. Bhakti has came to our life. We have embraced that grace on some level. We are trying to further identify with that divine call, but still there may be some other layers of identification or necessities that we are trying to integrate. in the devotional process. That's basically to be a sadhaka. What does it mean? No? Integration, as I like to say. For me, transcendence means integration. It doesn't mean rejection of anything, but how to integrate everything in the bhakti equation, which is, of course, easier said than done. but all this entails, again, giving one's heart to the Guru, because Guru is expecting that you get closer to him, to her, and the proximity again is in terms of surrender. The Guru is, I mean, we are to surrender to the Guru because the Guru is already surrendered. It's not like some unjust expectation. No? If the Guru is really surrendered, the Guru does not even need to tell you surrender to me, because I mean, his own surrender will be commanding that respect. If you are sincere and you see the Guru's surrender, you understand this is the currency of the relationship, basically. I mean, and he's not only surrendered to Krishna or to his Guru, but the Guru is surrendered to every one of his disciples in his service as Guru. No. Try to I mean, to be a Guru is the highest form of commitment and service. The highest servant is the Guru, basically. The Guru is not the one who is serving the less and everyone is serving him. Overtly, for the untrained eye, it might seem that, oh, he's receiving such plate and more kijais than everyone else and blah, blah, blah. But if you go beyond the apparent stuff, you see he's serving everyone else more than all of us put together. That's real Guru. That's the commitment of a genuine Guru. I will try to help you as much as I can. I am making that commitment for eternity, not even this lifetime. So of course, we receive that level of surrender. Minimum, we will try to surrender ourselves as much as we can. I always quote this, and I love to quote that, and I will do it again with your permission. In this connection, I remember once I asked Guru Maharaj, what's that thing that I can do that will please you the most? I don't know, that question came to my mind. I say, I will present that, and I will try to do whatever. Maybe the answer, I'll try to do something about it. And he replied saying to me, try to increase your commitment with the ideal. That was his reply. That will be the thing that will please me the most. So he was not asking anything for himself. He was not telling me, send me a $10,000 donation, which even if he says that, that's not necessarily for himself either. But my point is, he replied in such a way that was 108% commitment with my own practice. And that's what gives him pleasure. In other words, the Guru is so happy when he sees how his disciple become gurus. Gurus means increase your commitment with your ideal. Doesn't mean now you are giving initiation to someone or something. No, Guru means acharya. No, it doesn't mean you have a mission. It means you are teaching by example. So try to increase your commitment with the ideal. I mean, I cannot find a more committing instruction than that one, because there is no end to that. The day that I think I'm doing that, I had to go back to that, to the instruction. Or recently also I was in Vrindavan and I wrote to Guru Maharaj and told him, Guru Maharaj, so he told me, I asked him, is there anything you need from Vrindavan? I asked with all my naivety, you know, like thinking in Loy Bazaar or something like that. And he replied, Prem. That was the reply. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot get that one in Loy Bazaar. But I also try to, I mean, I tried to take that seriously. I always remember when Srila Prabhupada said, even if your spiritual master replies you in a letter, one line, what that line contains is unlimited. You cannot just like pass quickly, oh, it was just one word and it was just a joke he made to me. No, it was not a joke. he's asking me prem. Of course, it's not that, okay, he's asking me prem, I will give prem to my guru. I'm not thinking like that. No, it's the other way around. But at the same time, in his humility, he's asking me prem. He's asking me, you are in Vrindavan, you are in the land of prem, bring me prem. In other words, qualify yourself in such a way that you attain that. To begin with, what to speak of giving, first you have to attain it. So for me, his reply, bring me prem, was actually, he was telling me, attain that, get that. I mean, in my personal, it's not that I'm thinking I will give him prem, but how can I give something that I do not have? So first, I have to have it. I have to have it. He's pointing in that direction to me as a disciple. So the same idea, try to increase your commitment with the idea. So giving one's heart is hard because and that's part of the tapasya of being a guru, in the sense that you are dealing with so many people that are expected to give their hearts, and to deal with all that will happen in between in their attempts of giving their hearts. And so many things will have happen in the way, and I want to give my heart, but this got in the way, and not words got in the way, as Guru said today. This is another level. I want to say I love you, but words got in the way. In the case I want to love you, but an artist get in the way, and I have to do something with that. And sometimes these are very basic things. Maybe you say, Maharaj, these things I've heard them first month in the temple, false ego and being humble, but we have to walk the talk, you know. And also there has to be a part of oneself as a disciple to be willing of being educated by the guru. No, I mean, like, because the guru there are different gurus, of course, and different guru has different moods. And I've seen gurus who kind of enter more directly into the life of a disciple, and like, in a proper way. There are improper ways to do so, but in a proper way. And they start like to point, no, this should be in this way, you should be improved, and this should be changed. But some other gurus may be more passive in that, and may give harikatha, may give a nice example, but they may not be pointing certain things unless we make it clear that we are willing for that to happen. So sometimes we also should be willing to do so, because again, or from one person and from another. Of course, not necessarily every single. When we speak about guru, we don't only speak about one person. Remember always, no? Do not limit the word guru to a single person, because in the beginning it may be limited to one person. We have to begin somewhere, but there is a whole reality. That's why we sing Jai Gurudev Guru Parampara. So some figures may complement with one another, and some other sadhus may in our lives point to certain things that even our Diksha Guru may not know. For example, in my case, Guru Maharaj may not know certain details about myself. I mean, one tries to be as transparent as possible, but maybe if you are not living with someone every day for 20 years, there are certain things you will miss. But maybe someone like Vaishnav Maharaj, who is a sannyasi friend of mine, will know certain things because we lived together for 20 years. And he may know, and he may point to those things, and I may point to other things as well. Not like competition, but just like a natural dynamics of relationship. And we should be willing that is someone in our life that can point to those things that we need to eventually transcend. But first we need to acknowledge. Of course, we have to be introspective ourselves and try to deeply contemplate, what do I need to change? What I'm chanting and I'm not crying yet. Again, not in like a neurotic way, but there should be some lamentation. Mahaprabhu is showing that example right from verse 2. Durdaiva midrishami hajjanina anurag. Everything is so merciful, everything is so graceful, so incredible, but I don't have an attraction for that. So something is going wrong. again, not to enter into an extreme crisis, but not to the point of forgetting that I can improve. Because I've seen so many times that one has gone to one extreme of the equation, like something is wrong and I'm a demon and I must be offensive, and you go like into trauma after trauma. So when you realize I'm going crazy by this method, you jump to the other extreme, which is equally dysfunctional, which is nobody can tell me anything to me about anything. No? And let's do it as I want, as I can, as I like, and it becomes kind of a hippie Gaudiya Vaishnavism or something, like, and you become too independent and you are not willing to anyone to participate in your life, basically. So you, in the name of being open and relaxed, you're actually closing your heart. And so it's nice to be open. And of course, one open one's heart in a cheap way to everyone and everyone. It's something that trust needs to be there, as Guru Maharaj spoke today about Vishwas, Vishramba. With Guru, that has to be there. Vishrambena Guru Seva. So the more the trust grows, the relationship develops, there will be place for those type of things, for those type of exchanges. So giving one's heart to the Guru, I will say, it begins with letting your Guru instruct you about what's your heart about. And allowing him to enter to your heart, to inspect your heart and to do the interior decoration process. Because Srila Saramash will say that, we want to be filled, we want the sadhus to fill our heart, but first we need to empty our hearts in front of the sadhus, like to expose ourselves with whatever is there. And many things may be embarrassing. Generally, many of us may have some things that you will not say publicly about yourself. Like no. Just in the Sunday confession in the church, and not even there, basically. But again, the problem is that we are identifying with that because you are not that thing, ultimately. I mean, the Atma in its constitution doesn't have anything embarrassing to hide. So the fact that we may feel something like that still shows we need to work on that. And to work on that means I have to share that with someone, at least one person. So give my heart, again, you cannot give your heart completely in one single stroke. It's like sustainable installments. It will pinch a little bit, but not too much as to think I never will do this again. It's too traumatic. No, not like that. But it has to pinch a little bit. You have to get out of the comfort zone a little bit. Because if not, you are practicing some form of conformist religion only. And that can happen so easily. Today I was thinking about that in the morning, because Krishna Bhakti is so powerful. Now we hear things like, you chant Nama Vas and you obtain Vaikuntha. I mean, imagine. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that. You can chant Nama Vas and go to Vaikuntha. So imagine below, and he say, you chant Nama Parat and you obtain wealth, artha, kama. So you may be doing things totally wrong in bhakti, but still there is some result. That if you are not too sincere, you feel, I'm having a good time. No, money is coming, I'm enjoying, but you may be on the platform Namaparat. You are not really growing, but you cheat yourself thinking everything is working nicely. It's fine, I'm enjoying it, I'm having a good time. But it doesn't mean you are progressing in bhakti. So my point is with this is, bhakti is so powerful that even if you do it wrongly, it can create so many immediate results that's a danger in the form of, oh, something is happening, so I don't need to think deeply about how to make further progress, because something is happening even if this is the Kaimyutya Nyaya of the Shastra, which says, even if you do this happens. It's not the Shastra saying, oh, remain chanting Namavas so you can go to Vaikuntha. No, Shastra is saying, imagine if that's the case with Namavas, what to speak of? Doing things properly. So we should be very careful of not misunderstanding this Kaimyutya Nyaya and just getting stuck in, oh, I'm okay, I'm comfortable here, I'm having a good time. all my material situations were relatively okay, but no problem if you are okay materially. That's a good horizontal development for making the quantum leap into transcendence, for sure. And be ready for some any day to not be materially nice, okay, because someday material situation may, like, it will at one point. It will be over. Again, I don't want to sound too much of a sannyasi like this course, but I mean, that's a reality of life. You know? Remember that many things are here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, we hear that quote over and over again, and try to act as if any single moment you will leave this body. And hopefully you are perfectly okay with how you are living your life now, if you are to leave your body at this precise moment, because that will happen. Like this Chinese proverb they have, like, they live every day as if it's the last, and one day you will be right. I mean, we laugh, but it's like this. I mean, but if you don't live like that, whenever the moment comes, you won't be prepared for that. That's the situation. And it's not like living in panic or in tragic. If you are like that, it means still you are not understanding what's life about, what's death about. So all the things have to be in place for further giving of our hearts to Sri Guru. But yeah, mostly the disciple is someone who is willing to embrace the discipline of being a disciple. And again, discipline doesn't mean like concentration camp, but means discipline. I mean, discipline means tapasya. And tapasya, I'm not saying just wear a glowing cloth and sleep under the tree or whatever. I'm saying just try to, for example, tapasya mostly has to do with pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means retire your senses from nonsense and trying to become one-pointed in some direction. Try. That's not easy. Like when you sit on chant japa, try to sit chant japa, retire all your senses and just focus on Sri Nam.
You mean pratyahara?
Pratyahara, sorry. Yeah, not pratyaksha. Thank you so much. Pratyahara. No. So like a turtle, retiring all the limbs and absorbing in one direction. Not so easy. And that's tapasya. Tapasya means fire, heat. So you sit, you try to retire all the tension and focus in one direction, and you feel the heat coming. So surrendering to a guru is kind of that. No? You try to make the guru like the exclusive focus of your life. That person, in the words of Srila Siddhar Maharaj, is our own potential appearing in front of us. Try to imagine how big of a commitment is that. You cross in your life someone who embodies all that you can be. It's like a reflection of your best possible horizon, like a mirror that is showing all that you can be, your best possible updated version of each one of us. So wow, you have to do something with that. You have to honor that vision. That means giving our hearts to that. So yeah, I will say the willingness to keep learning, to remain students forever, and to learn what's our heart, what's not our heart. Sometimes first we need to know what's not our heart. Then we start to get what's our heart. Because sometimes when we say heart, many, at least in Shastra, the expression heart is there, but generally refers to the mind. Because the heart is just a muscle. No, it's not too romantic. I mean, they use that in law. I give you my heart, but if I presented muscle, I mean, you remember brahmachari for life. Nobody will buy into that. Well, like, oh, kiss my heart. So Shastra generally speaking about the mind in the beginning, like controlling the mind. Gives one mind, gives one heart, means gives one mind. Basically, your mind is in certain directions, absorbing certain things. Okay, now I want to give my mind to you. Well, like when Arjuna asked Krishna, it is enough if I engage my body in service to you and offer stuff through my bodily activity? And Krishna said, no, I want your mind also. Because if I don't have your mind, I don't have you. I mean, your body may be doing any show in front of me, but your mind may be going shopping somewhere else. That's why the topmost instruction of the Gita is manmana, and Krishna repeats that verse twice, almost exactly, at the end of chapter 9 and at the end of chapter 18. You can study those ones also. 934, 1865. Manmana bhavamat bhakto mabhyahi mam namashkuru. Mame vaisasi yuktaivam atmavan matparayana, and mame vaisasi yuktam te pratiyane satyam te pratiyane priyosime. It's like variety at the end. But the beginning is the same. Manmana. Manmana means Krishna is saying to you, your mind to me. Manmana. Mana means mind. Man means me. Mind, me. In simple words. Your mind, give it to me. In other words, fall in love with me. Because that's the only way you can give your heart, your mind to someone. And that's what bhakti is about. But again, it begins with some, in the beginning, it may sound a little bit more like calculated at some moments, because we have to make some effort, as Guru Maharaj will say. This is not favorable, this is not, if we just get carried by the whatever we feel, it may not be the most healthy thing. I hope you understand my point. We cannot just fully trust our feelings as a conditioned soul. As a conditioned soul, I may feel I want to kill you. And I feel it. I feel anger and I feel envy, and you feel those things. They are emotional reality that can consume your whole being. How much, if you identify with that, you become a serial killer, you become who knows what. The potential is terrible. So we should be very, very balanced in first of all understanding, I want to reach God. God is transcendental reality and needs to educate my approach to such a reality, and the Guru is there to teach me that by example and by teaching of Shastra, by revelation. I need to adopt a proper epistemic hierarchy, epistemological approach to reality. No, I want to understand Krishna, how to understand such a thing as Krishna, such a person as Krishna. I cannot just go with my human intuition. Because when we call intuition, generally it has to do with our samskars. You have certain intuition, and other persons have some other intuition. And on some level, it may work. I'm not saying it's totally useless. That's an important point. But regarding entering Nitya Lila or something, that's not enough. So our mind and intuition and some scars and human psychology and DNA, I'm not saying throw that and burn that and it's useless. On some level, you can become very successful and you can be balanced human being and sattvic, and it's okay. But if you want to go beyond sattva, part of your own, you need something else. And the Guru is coming to our life for that, to teach us that. And for us to accept that, I mean, the Guru is inviting from that other side us to enter there. We have to be ready to surrender. And surrender means I understand that my means are limited and I need to trust that higher invitation to give myself in that direction. But the giving has to be sincere and intelligent. That's why pranipatina, pariprasnena then comes. Praniprasnena means inquire. Make all the questions you need to make in order that your surrender is properly informed. And again, it's not some forced imposition from others and from yourself, but it's an informed, voluntary decision. That's the glorious thing about love. I mean, it's voluntary. Sometimes people is saying, why there's suffering in the world? Why not everyone is happy? Well, because being happy means loving God, and loving means you choose to love the person. It's not that you are made to love him in such a way that you don't have any other option. That doesn't sound too loving. No? Like I say, okay, you can love God. That's the reality. Do you have a second option? No. It's like, okay. I never chose to love him, so like love him. Yes, okay. So if I have another option, the risk is there to choose something else. So that's where we are suffering. But so love is, my point is, the greatness of love is that you are choosing that, you are investing your will in that particular direction. That gives sense to the whole thing. So the same with surrender. nobody can surrender for you, and nobody can force you to surrender. If that happens, that's not surrender at all. That's some dysfunctional issue. But when you voluntarily choose to surrender and you understand why, and you are doing that with a smile, even though some pinching is there, still you're happy, you're smiling. That's glorious. That's glorious. And interestingly, after that, Krishna says Sevaya. First he says surrender, then he says inquire with humility, not with doubt and questioning the integrity of the person. First there has to be trust, surrender, faith, then inquiry with humility, and then do service. Generally we think service is the first thing, but here Krishna is regarding to the Guru, first surrender, then be humble, and then serve on that foundation. Because if you are not serving with surrender and humility, that's not service. That's not seva. Service, that's a tricky word. That's every word is. You can go to military service, social service, so many services. But seva, that's another category. That's giving pleasure to the object of your affection. That's a more accurate translation of seva, to give pleasure to the object of your affection. So that gives you a better panorama of what's our idea of service. So I won't be engaged in such an activity if I'm not surrender, if I'm not humble. I won't feel it. So first those things need to be in place. And that takes time again. That's a process. Initiation is a process. Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpana. Guru Maharaj quoted that verse these days. Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpana, says Chaitanya Charitamrita. Say Diksha Kali, in the moment of Diksha, Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpana. The Bhakta, the devotee, he does what? Kari Atma Samarpana. The devotee makes of his or her soul a full offering to Krishna. That's Diksha, says Chaitanya Charitamrita. So then we may start to wonder, do I have Diksha? Did I reach there? I have it, but did I reach there? Diksha came, but I'm there, as we say the other day. No, mercy came, but I'm there. I opened the door, they're knocking for time immemorial, but did I open? So the idea is Diksha Kali Bhakta Karadma Samarpana. In the moment of Diksha, when you make of yourself a full offering to Krishna, means that doesn't happen on day one. But that starts to happen on day one. But it's a process. So what we call initiation has its own initiation. It's the initiation of the initiation, the beginning of the initiation process. Initiation is a process. It's not a pill. No. Swallow. What's the next one? That takes time to, you have to ruminate and chew. Well, like the cows, and they're eating, process, and chewing and chewing and chewing. You have to chew a lot. So giving the heart is a process. That's my point. No, but of course it begins by having the willingness to do so. Even if one's idea of giving one's heart is still naive, or is still a little bit, I mean, no problem. I mean, it's kindergarten-like. No problem. I mean, every one of us will be like devotional kindergarten. I mean, Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttam. Sometimes you need to be a Kanishta for some time. And that's glorious. We are not condemning being a Kanishta Adhikari. It's glorious. It's no longer glorious when you're expected to become a Madhyam, but you insist on remaining a Kanishta. That's no longer glorious. That's no longer beautiful. But it's okay if you're a baby who is urinating on yourself for some time. It's okay. It's beautiful. For the mother, no. Baby's making a whole mess with excrement and urine, and the mother is crying and melting. Oh, it's so nice. Everyone else is like, oh, and the mother's like, Vatsalya Bhav ki jai. But if that same person had 13 years and still is doing the same, I don't think mother's milk is pouring from their breasts in Vatsalya Bhava at that point. No, no, no. At that point, she will say, that's no longer beautiful, my dear. You should be doing some higher mess now, corresponding to your teenage years. Now, you still be messy, but according to your particular stage, engage in higher mistakes, something like that. So in the same way, you know, there are so many levels of disciples and so on, but we should be always willing to keep growing, to keep learning. And that's the main message that our Guru Maharaj always say to us. You know, remain open to keep that spirit, you know, students forever, as Celestial Maharaj will say, and everything will come from that, basically, no? Because so many things will come in our journey. We don't have a clue about that. I mean, I don't want to enter into autobiographical statements, but so many things happen in my life that I can tell you I didn't have a clue that will happen. I mean, some of the things that happened in my devotional journey were, if I would have to make the day one, at least write the top 5 things that you should expect the least to happen in your devotional life. Those 5 things I would have written, all the 5 things happened. And other ones that were even more astonishing, that I thought, oh, these are even more weird. I should have put that in number 1 in that day in the list, but I forgot for some reason. And now it happened to remind me. So many things, my point is, will happen on our path. And those things also will come to test, to prove, or to show where we are, basically. And that's okay. We should be happy for that. We should be praying for being tested, for being put to test, because that's how I can have a realistic picture of where I really am. Because I can paint an unrealistic picture in my own mind of who I am or where I am, and that can happen so many times. Oh, I think now I'm getting to I don't know. I think I have already realized the 3rd verse of Sikshastakam, Madhyam Bhakti is just there. I'm getting to the top of the mountain. And just comes one devotee and like knocks you, and like you are like, and you realize, no, I'm quite far from 3rd verse yet. No, something like this, to give some grotesque example. But tests are required, because if you don't have tests, you don't know in which part of the journey you are. So like when you have these obstacles of the runners that have to jump one other, every time they pass one obstacle, that helps to confirm making progress. No? So that's necessary. And sometimes we'll pass the test, and sometimes we won't pass the test. But if we learn something from that not passing the test, we have passed the test. The test will come again, but we will be better equipped for dealing with that. And when we have approved that test, will come another one. And then will come the PhD and all different degrees that we need to go through. So, and we should always have this confidence. Krishna will never send me a test that I cannot pass. I mean, he's not fool. I mean, he knows which are my capacities. And of course, some things may come and I may feel I cannot pass by myself, and I believe you. But if at that moment you pray sincerely for mercy, that will come and will allow you to pass the test. And that was the purpose of the test, basically, to show you cannot do it by yourself. You need help. And that's one of the most difficult things that sometimes we humans have in our minds. We are sometimes it's so difficult for us to ask for help. No, help me, I need help. Generally, that's like actually that's the death blow to the ego. So generally, we are not so willing to ask for help, to acknowledge that we need help. And generally, most of us are totally in need of help. I made that joke I mean, it was not a joke, it was serious, but in social media, I put one post, said, I need help. And everyone started writing, what happened, Maharaj? What's happened? Well, I said, no, I'm okay like every day, but I need help. I mean, why do you interpret I need help like some extreme tragedy? Are you not? We are not aware that we need help on a daily basis in the most normal moments of our day. You need to go to be pushed to the extreme to just, I need help. Okay, if you need that treatment will come. And hopefully you ask for help at that moment. Sometimes we can be so stubborn. But yeah, it's not a problem. Of course, that's not an excuse and being lazy. Help me, help me, help me. And you need to help yourself also to do your part. But also the two things are working together. So on a daily basis, we are praying to Sri Guru, help me, basically. That's why we accept the Guru also. Tasman Guru Prapadita, that's the Bhagavatam say. Tasmat, which means therefore, you have to surrender a Guru. And that therefore, of course, is connected with many verses before, which describe how a conditioned soul goes through the material experience, realizing, I need help. So the verse says, therefore, you have to surrender to a Guru. And surrender means, I need help. Gurudev, please help me. I'm sure if you approach your Guru and you say, Gurudev, please help me, you won't go disappointed from that addressing, basically. Of course, if that's sincere, yeah, please help me. And of course, you don't need to tell him. You need to imbibe that on a daily basis even. I mean, you can tell him if you need, but the point is, we should remain in that mood, basically, needy mood. And again, needy mood, do not misunderstand me, it's not just like you develop some complex of inferiority or some evasive mechanism, victim consciousness or whatever, but I need help. That's a fact in so many ways. I need mercy, if you want to put it in that way. That sounds nicer, no problem. I need grace. We need so many things. So that's humbling to maintain ourselves in that spirit, because the opposite is I don't need anything. Others need me. I'm whatever, fool or whatever. So to give our hearts, my point is to the Guru is, as Srila Samara say again, you want your Guru to fill your heart, first we have to empty our heart. To expose all those things that we need to expose and deal with them properly. Guhyamakyati prichati, reveal our mind in confidence, ask for help with trust and confidence, and accept the help also, because that's so important. And that will make our spiritual life so real, so full of insights and inner experiences, not something boring or not something lacking creativity, if you will, or inspiration. So some words, okay. 1 hour and 8 minutes, 108 we are. So I think there is some follow-up question. We can share something else and finish, wrap up in some minutes. Yes, Omkar.
I'm hoping, it won't take so long to answer. But,
hope against hope, as they say.
You say this Diksha Kale verse in relation to initiation, and I mean, Prabhupada separated those two initiations. We talked about that the other day, yesterday actually. It's still a little bit unclear to me, like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of multi-layered question, but it says that once one gets given a sadhaka deha, and then it said like get spiritualized or so. So like at what point, like sometimes those are spoken of interchangeably.
Which are spoken
like
interchangeably.
Harinam initiation, like you have your Nam Guru and then you have your Diksha Guru, or I don't know what those technical words.
But I don't understand the question. Sadhaka Deha, Siddha Deha, Harinam Diksha. I mean, I don't get.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's your point?
Either. All this stuff. There's so much going on, like so.
Welcome.
What's actually going on and when?
Welcome to the club.
Are you wondering at which point you get the sadhaka deha? Like at which initiation?
Also, yeah. I guess you put it more simply.
Are you wondering, do you have a sadhaka deha or you will receive it tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm already spiritualized.
And you will ask, at which moment do you give me the sadhaka deha, Guru Maharaj? I never see it. Where is the sadhaka deha? I mean, it's important to go beyond a little bit some of the formalities surrounding this this moment, these stages, and the Guru Sadhaka is giving Sadhaka Deha. I mean, again, giving Sadhaka Deha is giving giving you an identity as a sadhaka, no? An identity which identifies with sadhana. So that may begin even before Harinam, if you will, in one level. It's not that, okay, now it's the full thing. In the very beginning, you start to hear and you start to receive this type of instructions and inspiration. You start to develop, again, an identification with the need of sadhana, and that starts to invoke the concept of sadhaka deha. I mean, you want to engage your senses, your body in sadhana. I mean, it's not that, okay, but you don't have Harinam, so you are not a sadhaka yet. You don't have sadhaka deha yet. It's not like that. No? Of course, there's a way to put it, like Guru Maharaj said, okay, in initiation, the Guru is giving you that, like he's giving you a name, like he's giving you a sense of identity that hopefully you already had that before on some level, but that moment it helps to make that more official, no? Like, this is your name, this is your Guru, you are establishing a bond, like you are getting married to each other, basically, no? Legally. Your name is there on the paper, you put the ring. I mean, all those things are symbols, but all those things are creating an awareness of the commitment in the relationship and what's expected from you in that interaction. And hopefully both parties are celebrating that. Not like, oh my God, what I'm doing here. No. So again, it's not that before Diksha, that's not there and you had Harinam, but Guru Maharaj, I don't feel I have a sadhaka deha. I mean, you can tell it for yourself. The more you apply yourself to sadhana, I mean, the more you have a sadhaka deha, because it's all about applying in sadhana, applying oneself in sadhana and receiving the tools and the education for doing so. So that can happen even before Harinam on some level and so on. And my point, if your Guru gives you Harinam and Diksha, but you are doing no sadhana whatsoever, how much of a sadhaka deha you have? I mean, if there's no sadhana, how can you speak about sadhaka? No? Sadhaka deha means, again, it's a body of a practitioner. So that has to do, like, a new sense of identity is implanted, if you will, to replace the identity we had before that, as an enjoyer, as an exploiter, as a consumer, as a whatever. So again, that's and the more we take advantage of that, the other part of your question, when that becomes fully spiritualized, again, it's not black and white. It's not like now it's spiritualized, yesterday was not spiritualized or something like that. Gradually, more and more. And in this stage of asakti, which is the last stage of sadhana, which again, you are graduating from sadhana, which means you are graduating as a sadhaka. In other words, your sadhaka deha is graduated and siddha deha is coming. So that happens again. Asakti is the last stage of sadhana, and that's mentioned. Guru Maharaj explains that nicely in his commentary to the 5th verse of Sikshastakam, and also is explaining Madhurya Kadambini, how asakti is the arising of the siddha deha. I mean, it's coming. You are really knowing who you are in eternity with the different details of that identity. You are graduating from sadhana. So you are entering into a life of bhava, and there will be another sadhana called bhava sadhana from another perspective, from the vantage point of your siddha deha. So, but again, that's the last stage of sadhana. First, we have to do our homework through bhajan, kriya, nartha, nivritti, nishta, ruchi, and then asakti. But yeah, technically speaking, siddha deha will begin. I mean, officially will be the sadhaka deha will be a fully spiritualized body, if you will, at that stage. But of course, before that, one will have glimpses of what's our siddha deha about, what's our affinity in eternity. It's not that before asakti I have no clue what's my affinity in Braja Leela, let's say, and now I'm in asakti and I have all the details about that. No, before that, those things will start to come. There will be more and more clarity the more we are cleaning our chitta darpana marjanam, So the identity is there, the conception is there. Hrishikena Hrishikesya Vanam Bhakti Ruchate. As Guru Maharaj will say, the more you pour bhakti samskars in every pore of your body, the more your sadhaka deha becomes spiritualized. So it's a matter of how much we are interacting with the sense objects for the purpose, for the pleasure of the sense of Krishna. Krishnandriya priticha dhare premanam admendriya pritivancha tare bhalikam. Calm or selfless desire means to interact with the senses for the pleasure of one's senses. Prem or divine love is to interact with the senses for the pleasure of Krishna's senses. Just one word you have to change. And then change the whole equation from selfless desire to divine love. So again, it's a gradual process. But it's happening for sure. You can measure that. I mean, there are symptoms. You can look at yourself, not from today to yesterday, because you won't see that much change generally, but from today to a year ago or something. If you were doing your homework, I mean, there has to be some change. You have to perceive some transformation on some level. If not, your faith in the whole practice will like shrink or something. Like this is not working. But again, one has to be doing one's homework, because if you are not engaging your sadhaka deha properly, yeah, nothing may be happening for sure.
I guess my my focal point actually was.
Now it's getting clearer. The question is getting more clear.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Firstly, but secondly, I guess it was more so, and I apologize for this not being clear. The more so, when do you get given the bija, Bhakti-lata-bija? Do you get it in Harinam, or do you get it?
I mean, you have to understand how scripture speaks. It tries to give you an idea, but it's not that the bija is a bija, literally. It's not that open your mouth, there goes the seed, swallow. Now I have the Bhakti-lata-bija. No, it's not like a thing that, of course, something happens in initiation and so on, but it's not like one thing, one moment, swallow it, that's all. I mean, Bhakti-lata-bija is another way of speaking about bhakti samskars in a very, maybe in a more specific and condensed way. Like, okay, the Guru is giving you mantra. Of course, there's a particular injection of bhakti samskars you receive on that day. Guru Krishna Prasadipai Bhakti-lata-bija. But it doesn't mean that before that there were no bhakti samskars, because how do you reach that moment of initiation if it's not for bhakti samskar, previous bhakti samskars that are not inherent in the jiva? Sorry, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's so. I mean, we don't have inherent bhakti, so kind of bhakti asanjatya bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti, which means bhakti comes from the bhakta. Bhakti comes from sadhu sangha. So the very first meeting with the sadhu in this lifetime, you may be receiving bhakti samskars. It's a way of speaking Bhakti-lata-bija. If you, there's words, there are examples, symbols. No? Mahaprabhu is giving the symbol, the beach, and the gardener, and the weeds, and the vine. It's not that literally there is one vine, and someday you start to see something coming from your ear. Oh, it's growing. It's a way of speaking about something that is beyond words. But again, before meeting your guru, before receiving initiation, you are receiving bhakti samskar from maybe other sadhus who are not your guru, your Bharma Pradarsaka guru, as it is say, the person that first spoke to you about Krishna. And maybe you never see that person again in your life, because it was someone in the street that told you something. You were in a party totally drunk, and the person gave you one book, and that book changed your life, and you want, where's that person again? Never again. I know many cases like that. Recently in Colombia, one of the boat told me that story. He was in the most possibly degraded party in his university's times, and it was his birthday, so it was a special day for degradation. And everyone was bringing gifts according to the occasion, invoking further and further degradation. And then comes the most weird person in the party, that which seemed, okay, this will bring the most degraded stuff for the party. The person brought the book from Srila Prabhupada and gave to him. And he didn't know who was that person. And then he read the book and he started to read all the other books and he started to find that person. Till now, after 25 years, never met that person again. So God acts in mysterious way, but you cannot say that's a bhakti samskar, even when you don't have a clue what's a bhakti samskar, but you are receiving that, what you sometimes call ajñāta sukriti. There are ways to speak about that. Ajñāta sukriti is you are getting closer to Krishna and you don't have an idea what's going on, as I like to say, and then suddenly you're jumping in the kirtan and say, how did I get here? And why do I want to stay here? I don't know what's going on, but there was something going on, even you don't have a clue. And eventually you get educated and realize, oh, that party, that gift of my birth. And you start to become aware of those things. So again, you are receiving bhakti samskars, and eventually you start to look for those bhakti samskars in an official way. That's the sadhu sangha that comes after Shraddha. But before Shraddha, there is another sadhu sangha that you are not aware that it was sadhu sangha. And eventually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentioned the sadhu sangha that comes after Shraddha mainly refers to accepting a guru. Like implying before that, you were receiving other sadhu sangha, some impressions, and then your faith is formed and you are more aware in your practice. And then now you receive bhakti samskaras in a more concentrated way. And sometimes that's sometimes called the Bhakti-lata-bija, when the guru is initiating and giving you the mantra and the seed. But it doesn't mean that before that there were no bhakti samskaras, there were not impressions. No? Like for example, Srila Prabhupada, to give one example, in this lifetime, in his last birth, if you will, he was a disciple of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta. So one could say, okay, he received from him bhakti samskar from his guru, his initiation and the mantra. And part of the bhakti samskar is the devotional internal affinity that the guru has in relation to Krishna. And that's being given. Sometimes it's also explained like that. That's the seed. And Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta gave Prabhupada the seed, but his affinity is Madhurya Rasa for Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta. And Prabhupada's affinity was for Priyanarma Sakhya Bhav. So what does it mean then? He received that Bhakti-lata-bija for Madhurya Rasa, but then swallow another Bhakti-lata-bija after and created some mixture there. Or no, he already had Bhakti samskars from before for Sakhya Bhav. So that other influence, that other bij, if you want to speak in terms of different seeds, of that other current of samskars, connection to Madhurya Rasa mixed with Sakhya, make the equation of Priyanarma Sakhya, which includes Madhurya Bhav. But again, so that's the point. There are many lifetimes also practice. You never know. You may have received Diksha in a previous lifetime, a certain influence, and in this lifetime one is continuing with that. I mean, we don't. So again, it's a way of conceptualizing, like the seed, you swallow the seed, now I have to water it and so on. But it's basically a way of speaking about bhakti samskar. So it's not that one day that began. But there are, of course, some important chapters of those, especially intense samskars that may come certain moment from certain people that will influence us for eternity even. So that's for sure. And sometimes those chapters may be highlighted, like the Bhakti-lata-bija. That's the seed. But actually there are so many influences in between also. Jai. It's 8 o'clock, so Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Sri Daoji Gopal ki jai, Shri Ekadasi ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Om, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyev Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.